As a journalist covering international maritime tensions, I've followed the escalating confrontations in the South China Sea for years. The recent real-world incident near Scarborough Shoal, where Chinese Navy and Coast Guard vessels collided with a Philippine ship while attempting to drive it away, set the stage for heightened U.S. involvement. This event, occurring just days before the U.S. deployed the USS Higgins, a guided missile destroyer, and the USS Cincinnati to the disputed waters, underscores the fragile balance in the region. Beijing's claim that it expelled the USS Higgins from the area, denied by the USS Navy, adds fuel to the fire. Drawing from these actual events, I've crafted a fictional war scenario that imagines how such a challenge could spiral into full-scale conflict, blending real geopolitical flashpoints with speculative escalation for dramatic effect. This is purely hypothetical, exploring the what-if of a big mistake in challenging the wrong ship.
In the choppy waters of the South China Sea near Scarborough Shoal, tensions boiled over on a stormy August morning in 2025. Inspired by real incidents where Chinese vessels aggressively maneuvered against foreign ships, a Chinese Navy destroyer shadowed the USS Higgins during a routine Freedom of Navigation operation, FONOP. The Higgins, an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer equipped with Aegis radar and Tomahawk missiles, was patrolling to assert international rights in the disputed area, much like U.S. warships have done in response to Chinese claims. The Chinese ship broadcast warnings, demanding the Higgins depart, echoing Beijing's real-world assertions of sovereignty. But the Higgins held course, its crew on high alert. Suddenly, the Chinese vessel cut dangerously close, forcing evasive maneuvers, a tactic seen in past close encounters. Radars locked, and the sea turned into a powder keg.
The challenge turned aggressive as the Chinese ship deployed water cannons and sonar pings, disrupting the Higgins systems, methods reminiscent of actual confrontations where Chinese forces have used non-lethal but provocative tactics against U.S. and allied vessels. In this fictional twist, a miscalculation led to a collision. The Chinese destroyer grazed the Higgins hull, sparking fires on both sides. Alarms blared aboard the Higgins as damage control teams rushed to seal breaches. Drawing from real reports of Chinese ships colliding with smaller vessels near Scarborough Shoal, this incident ignited chaos. The U.S. ship fired warning flares, but the Chinese vessel interpreted it as hostility and launched anti-ship drones, forcing the Higgins to activate its close-in weapons system, CIWS, for defense. Waves crashed as missiles streaked across the sky, turning the challenge into a firefight. With communications jammed, a tactic echoing real cyber intrusions attributed to Chinese forces in the region, the conflict spilled into the digital realm. Hypothetical AI viruses from the Chinese side targeted the Higgins navigation, while U.S. countermeasures disrupted the opposing fleet's radar. Overhead, fighter jets from a nearby U.S. carrier scrambled, clashing with Chinese aircraft in dogfights inspired by tense aerial encounters over the South China Sea. Hypersonic missiles, like those boasted in Chinese military parades, streaked toward the Higgins, but its Aegis system intercepted most, debris raining into the sea. The battle expanded as allied Philippine forces, drawing from their real collisions with Chinese ships, joined the fray with patrol boats, turning the shoal into a multi-nation hotspot. The big mistake unfolded as the skirmish drew in reinforcements. Chinese carriers moved in, echoing Beijing's real militarization of artificial islands, while U.S. strike groups converged from the Pacific. Submarines lurked beneath, launching torpedoes in a cat-and-mouse game. Islands near Scarborough Shoal became launch pads for ground-based missiles, inspired by actual disputes over the feature. Civilian shipping halted, economies trembled, and international outrage mounted as satellite footage, similar to released videos of recent incidents, showed the carnage. The Higgins, damaged but defiant, sank the challenging Chinese ship with a barrage of Harpoon missiles. But the victory was Pyrrhic, with losses mounting on both sides. Under UN pressure, a ceasefire emerged after days of intense fighting, with both sides claiming victory, much like the rhetorical battles in real diplomatic spats. The South China Sea simmered, scarred by sunken vessels and disrupted trade routes. Reconstruction pledges followed, but underground cyber skirmishes continued, hinting at future flare-ups. This fictional escalation from a single challenge highlights the perils of miscalculation in disputed waters, where real incidents, like those near Scarborough Shoal, could tip the balance toward catastrophe.
In 2025, the conflict between Ukraine and Russia has persisted, with Ukraine developing advanced drone technology supported by Western allies. On a summer night, Ukraine launches Operation Skyfire Storm, deploying 93 AI-equipped drones armed with precision missiles in the simultaneous assault on Moscow. The attack transforms Russia's capital into a chaotic inferno, with fires raging, sirens blaring, and civilians in panic. Russia, with its modern air defense systems, struggles to counter the overwhelming drone swarm. This scenario is entirely fictional, inspired by real-world reports of drone attacks, but exaggerated for dramatic and imaginative purposes.
At midnight, Russian intelligence satellites detect a swarm of Ukrainian drones approaching from the border, heading straight for Moscow. These drones, dubbed Phantom Hawks, are designed with stealth technology and self-learning AI, capable of evading radar and adapting flight paths in real time. In Kiev, Colonel Olga Petrova, the operations commander, issues the order: turn Moscow into their hell. In Moscow, the Russian president receives an urgent alert. The S-500 air defense system is activated, but the sheer number of 93 drones spreading across the sky like a flock of black crows overwhelms initial defenses. Civilians awaken to the eerie wail of air raid sirens echoing through the city.
The first drones strike strategic targets: Vnukovo Airport, government buildings, and power plants. One drone crashes into the Ostankino TV tower, causing a massive explosion and cutting off national broadcasts. Flames light up the night sky, turning Moscow into a sea of fire. Civilians flee in panic, streets clog with traffic, and screams mix with the sound of explosions. From Kyiv, Colonel Petrova monitors the attack via satellite feeds, smiling as the drones evade Russian anti-air missiles. A group of 20 drones targets the Kremlin, but Russian defenses shoot down half, leading to a fierce aerial battle over the capital. Moscow descends into true hell. Skyscrapers burn, bridges collapse under drone-delivered bombs, and Russian emergency teams struggle to extinguish fires amid a rain of missiles. A central character, Sergei Ivanov, a civilian engineer in Moscow, escapes his burning apartment, witnessing the chaos, children crying, ambulances racing, and security forces attempting to evacuate residents. Petrova receives reports that 50 drones have been downed, but 43 remain active, continuing their destruction. Russia deploys Su-57 fighter jets to pursue the drones, but the Ukrainian swarm uses flock tactics to outmaneuver them, scattering in unpredictable patterns. Russia activates the Sky Shield, an advanced laser-based anti-drone system, destroying dozens more drones. The president orders a retaliatory missile strike on Ukrainian bases. Ivanov, now aiding a civilian rescue effort, struggles to contact his family amid disrupted communication networks. Petrova faces a dilemma: press the attack or withdraw. One final drone targets a nuclear power plant near Moscow, triggering a simulated radiation leak that worsens the crisis, though contained by Russian engineers.
As dawn breaks, Moscow remains ablaze, with the 93 drones having caused catastrophic damage, hundreds of casualties, and crippled infrastructure. Russia claims victory for downing most of the drones, but Ukraine views the attack as a psychological triumph. Ivanov survives, but the city he loves lies in ruins. Both sides agree to a temporary ceasefire, but tensions simmer, with the world bracing for a potential all-out war.
In 2025, Gaza languished under the shadow of prolonged crisis, its landscape scarred by past conflicts. On a frigid winter night, rockets launched from Gaza streaked across the border, striking coastal cities nearby and shaking the region. In response, a massive military operation dubbed Silver Blade was unleashed, employing advanced drones backed by a Western superpower. Command screens in a nearby major city lit up with satellite imagery, red alerts flashing as the Iron Dome 2.0, a quantum radar and AI-driven defense system, sprang to life. But an opposing coalition, known as the Black Sands Coalition from neighboring regions, countered with hypersonic missiles, rattling northern military bases. War erupted, transforming Gaza into a blazing battlefield. Under Gaza's sky, explosions illuminated the darkness. Ghost drones swept through, dropping precision bombs on strategic targets. But errors led to the collapse of civilian neighborhoods, leaving streets choked with rubble and smoke. Cries of distress mingled with the roar of detonations, as guerrilla fighters, equipped with stealth exosuits from covert sponsors, moved like phantoms, wielding energy weapons against advancing tank units. Air defense systems struggled to intercept the overwhelming number of drones, and some missiles broke through, demolishing critical infrastructure. Gaza became a labyrinth of destruction, with skyscrapers ablaze and bridges crumbling under the might of high-tech warfare. The conflict spilled beyond the battlefield into cyberspace. The Black Sands Coalition, backed by an external power, launched a massive cyber attack, crippling the opponent's communication and financial systems. Command center screens flickered with warnings as a major city's power grid failed, plunging it into darkness. In retaliation, an elite cyber intelligence unit deployed an AI virus, sabotaging the coalition's military facilities. In Gaza, autonomous drones became the primary weapons, but flawed programming caused strikes on civilian areas, escalating the devastation. This technological war turned Gaza into a deadly laboratory where AI systems clashed in an invisible battle. The conflict spread, drawing in forces from neighboring regions. A southern nation sent troops under the guise of humanitarian aid, only to clash with opposing forces at the border, igniting new battles. From the north, rebel groups expanded their assault, making Gaza the epicenter of a multi-front war. A grave incident occurred when a drone mistakenly struck a humanitarian convoy, sparking a diplomatic crisis and fueling international outrage. Gaza lay in ruins, with millions displaced, hospitals and schools leveled. Hidden weapons caches were uncovered in tunnels, but the victory could not mask the widespread destruction. Under global pressure, an emergency United Nations conference secured a temporary ceasefire. Opposing forces withdrew, and humanitarian corridors opened to deliver aid to Gaza. At the border, aid convoys navigated the ravaged landscape, protected by patrol robots with glowing sensors. A rogue drone from a splinter faction attacked, but a laser defense system shot it down. Though the ceasefire held, Gaza remained a wasteland, its buildings reduced to rubble and lives shattered. Underground movements began regrouping, quietly preparing for new conflicts. The Western superpower pledged reconstruction aid, but shadowy forces lurked, waiting to manipulate the region's future. The echoes of ruin lingered, heralding storms yet to come.